Welcome to Marketing in Minutes, where I spend a few minutes breaking down the 20% of things that generate 80% of the results in your painting or concrete coating business. Let's jump in. Today, I want you all to think bigger. Based on our data, most of you on this call are going to be residential contractors. The minority of you, roughly, let's say 25%, are also offering commercial painting at scale. Meaning you have a pretty even revenue split between residential and commercial, right? And we may even have a few commercial contractors on this call, but that's likely going to be less than 1%. So today, I'd like to talk about a problem currently impacting the majority of you on this call. And yes, that's anyone serving the residential industry. And how scaling commercial projects, which is relevant to all of you, will help future-proof your business over the next decade. But let's start by first addressing that problem. Again, there's a fundamental problem in the residential painting industry right now, and it's only going to get worse. The residential market is increasingly becoming a red ocean. Saturation is at an all-time high. And look, here's the facts to back this up. First, we have what are called pocket economies in the US right now. Some markets are absolutely thriving, while others are feeling a lot like a recession. For instance, if you're in a market like Chicago or Virginia, you're feeling pretty good right about now. But if you're in a more competitive market like Denver, DFW, you might be feeling the heat, especially when comparing year-over-year numbers. Homeowners are feeling pinched, just like your margins. In fact, there was a recent study that suggested the poverty line in the US for a family of four is over $140,000 a year. That's $100,000 a year more than the Fed is willing to admit. Now, how accurate that is, that's up for interpretation. But the bottom line is when you're offering a premium home service, which is a want, not a need, that will have a direct impact on one thing. It's going to be buyer demand. And look, we're roughly 4 years post-COVID now. So 2020 through 2022, if you got your business started during that time frame in this industry, that was a great time to be in business. Everyone was trapped inside. We were all staring at our walls looking for a refresh. And painting just happens to be the most cost-effective, quickest form of home improvement today. But a lot has changed since then. Specifically, supply is higher than ever, and demand is lower than ever. And for those of you who don't understand economics, let me break this down real quick. That means homeowners have more options than ever before. Your services are transforming into a commodity. And look, if that wasn't bad enough, your audience is now harder to reach than ever before. Look, here's another fun fact. You see roughly 6,000 to 10,000 ads every single day. I did the math on this. Given that most of us are active for 12 hours a day, we're consuming roughly 11 ads a minute. I mean, I see 6 on this Zoom call right now. When you perform a Google search, you're seeing 3 to 5 ads in the first second after that page loads. On Meta, it's even worse. 10 to 20% of your newsfeed is a paid ad. 40 to 50% of organic social posts are in the form of marketing or promotional content. That means if you're on social media, 50 to 70% of what you see is trying to sell you something. And if we add AI into the mix, it only gets worse. Right? If you drive down the road commuting to work or to an estimate, you typically see about 6 to 20 billboards along that typical commute in the US. In short, these channels are losing their value. And to be clear, this is coming from someone who owns a marketing agency. Again, I want to stick to the facts here, okay? Value decreases as volume increases. So I want you to think about this. When you hear something for the first time, it probably provides you with some value, right? The second time, maybe it's a different perspective. By the 10th or 20th time that you see a local contractor on a selfie video on Meta, you're over it. That's how homeowners feel right now. So while channels like social media and Google are still producing results today, I want to be clear, they are, and it's likely not going to stop overnight. They are going to lose their effectiveness over time because they are going to require one thing: more of your time. These channels are demanding unique perspectives. They require more of your time to create more content at scale. And who has time for that? And yes, it's only going to get worse. The value you can provide your audience and the value channels like Google and Meta can provide your business is on a clear path right now. Like, we're on the rocket ship that took you to where you're at today. Guys, it's running out of fuel. And look, I'm confident that everyone here has felt this to some degree. I want you to compare your numbers over the last 3 to 4 years. Likely one of three things is true: costs are up, volume is down, or margins are tight. One of those three things is likely impacting or has impacted your business over the last 3 to 4 years. And again, if not, congrats. You are living in a pocket economy. But trust me when I say this, if you rely on traditional advertising to grow your painting business, your time is coming soon. And now is the time to get ahead of that. Because if you continue with these standard forms of advertising and marketing, leads will become your digital heroin. In most markets, cost will continue to go up until residential contractors are squeezed. Whether it's by private equity or big budget ad campaigns, this isn't a theory. This is happening today. We must fundamentally change how we reach our audience, and I would argue more importantly, what audience we're trying to reach. Because your business can only grow so much on word of mouth, repeat business, and referrals. Okay, I painted a pretty grim picture there. What if there was a solution to all of this? What if there was a golden ticket that would solve all of these problems today? What if you could get out of that rat race? Like, let me paint the picture, pun intended. What if you could keep your crews busy 12 months a year without having to chase down a homeowner lead every single day? Again, I want you all to think bigger. So today, I'm going to propose a concept that's extremely simple, and then we're going to get tactical. Okay, here it is. I'd like you all to diversify. This is the same strategy every financial investor uses to make your money make more money. Okay, more specifically, I want you to diversify who you're talking to every day. And in this industry, where most of you are serving homeowners, diversification looks like this. Instead of talking to homeowners every day, we're going to sprinkle in a few businesses too. That's right. I want you all to build up your commercial portfolio. And today, I'm going to show you how. But first, I want to start with the why, because the why is pretty damn important. Why commercial painting? How does that get you out of the rat race? Well, there are three primary advantages to commercial painting that will never be true in the residential market. Let's start with the first one: seasonality. Take a look at this. Commercial painting does not follow the seasonal demand curve of the residential market. All right, so when a retirement home needs rooms repainted, they don't care what time of the year it is. When a general contractor is wrapping up an office renovation, they don't care if it's around the holidays, they need that work done. This principle alone changes your business from a premium home service to a critical business investment. You are no longer a want, you're a need. Second, commercial projects on average produce 5 to 20 times the revenue compared to the average residential project. So what makes more sense here? Would you rather go on 15 estimates to sell five $5,000 residential projects? Or would you rather build one new commercial relationship that can produce 5 to 20 times the revenue throughout the year. Oh, and how about recurring revenue? How does that sound? Right? When we target the right commercial prospects, we don't just get larger projects. We get an endless supply of those projects. Can you guys throw an emoji in the comments if this is sparking your interest at all? I'm curious to see how many of you are interested in growing this side of your business, because I'm about to show you how. Okay, we're on the right track. Cool. So where do we start? We start by first identifying who we're talking to. So in the commercial painting space, there are 3 types of prospects. We call this the commercial pyramid. Starting at the bottom, we call this level 1 contacts. These are non-recurring relationships. All right, so I want you to think about retail spaces, religious buildings, restaurants, right? They're technically commercial, but they're really just larger residential projects. They're fun. And look, if you're looking to get your feet wet, this is a great place to start. But this is not where you find the true value. Now, level 3 relationships at the top of that pyramid, these are a much different animal, right? These are large-scale commercial projects. These are whale projects. They could keep an established commercial contractor busy for most of the year. All right, consider projects like large high-rises or stadiums or specialized industrial facilities, right? You can run a killer business on this, but it takes experience and a specialized team. Projects like this are won over months or even years. So where's the opportunity here? The opportunity comes with our level 2 contacts. These are relationships that produce an endless supply of recurring repaint projects. We want to avoid new construction when possible. That's the commodity side. These are formed simply by establishing relationships with people that are general contractors, property management companies, facility owners. We all know this. This is the sweet spot. This is your gold mine. But like everything in life, there's a catch, because this industry is not for everyone. Your business must be able to solve 3 specific pain points of this audience. To start, first impressions matter. Okay? I've personally interviewed general contractors. I have it on our podcast. Go to basecoatmarketing.com/podcast. I've interviewed a few of them on there. I've actually asked them, what do you look for in a painting contractor? And they tell us, right? Property management companies. We've interviewed a few of them as well. And look, they all say the same thing. You must be personable, trustworthy, and trained. If you try to build a relationship on a 3-star Google rating, or you show up to an appointment covered in paint or smelling like cigarettes, guess what? You're not going to win. Okay? I'm not telling you to dress up in a suit and tie, but I'm telling you not to wear Timberland boots to an appointment. Okay? B2B relationships look for insurance documentation. You know, your team will typically need OSHA certifications, but I don't want you guys to overthink this. It's not difficult. It's not expensive, but yes, it does require some time. You must professionalize yourself, your team, and your company. This is pain point number 1. Second, you must do what you say when you say you're going to do it. This is the most fundamental component of running a business. When a business hires another business to perform a service, they expect deadlines to be met. That includes starting when you tell them you can start. Okay, if you talk to any established commercial painting contractor, they all tell you the same thing. They are a scheduling company that paints. Homeowners are flexible, business owners are not. You must become a master of your calendar and a master at estimating your team's time. Third, you must be financially stable. Some commercial relationships may require a credit check or proof of funds to begin a project. Why? Because it's not uncommon for commercial projects to require net 30 to 90-day payment terms. That means you don't get paid until months after you complete the work. So if your finances are not in order, guess what? You're going to run out of money. So you must know your numbers before you get into this line of work. So let's take a quick pulse check here. Does anyone check all three boxes? Can you solve these industry pain points? If not, that's fine. You at least have a list of things to focus on. But if you meet these minimum barriers to entry, congrats, you're ahead of most residential contractors. And to leverage this, you just need to master the art of building human relationships. That's right. Commercial relationships aren't built on Facebook or Google, they're built in the real world. And in a world full of social media influencers, fake filters, and AI slop, I would argue that human connections will become the primary currency of trust over the next decade. You might be asking, hey, Austin, where are you going with this? You're a marketing agency, right? Well, look, here's the catch. Every relationship starts with an introduction. So the question then becomes, how do we start building new commercial relationships? You guys ready to get tactical? Let's do it. Okay. You must become the most known brand in your local market. Think about it. When you get a crack on your car windshield, other than maybe some profanity, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Maybe it's that safe light jingle, right? Like, you want to become the safe light of commercial painters in your local market. Neat. So how do we do that? We just need to let your audience know you exist. This is called brand awareness for anyone that's interested. And look, in the residential market, I'm sure most of you are familiar with how this works. That requires you to get in front of the camera, smile, and trade your time for selfie videos religiously. But B2B marketing is a bit different. So there's been a great way to start a professional conversation online, and it's been around since 1971. It's called email. Yes, to build brand awareness in a professional setting, to reach decision makers in this industry, you just need to send an email. It can't be that simple, right? Of course not, or else everyone would be doing this. Email marketing sounds simple on the surface, but in practice, it is arguably one of the most difficult marketing channels to perfect at scale. Now, fortunately, I personally have been doing this for over a decade and a half. Our team has been trained off of all of this. We have a ton of data to work from. So I'm literally going to give all of you that playbook today. That sound good? It's free. So here we go. For brand awareness to work in this industry, we just need to do one thing. We have to turn up the volume. We need to tell a high volume of businesses how you can help them with a high number of touch points over an extended period of time. I'm going to repeat that. We need to tell a high volume of businesses how you can help them solve those three pain points we just discussed through repeated touch points over an extended period of time. You might be saying, hey, Austin, didn't you just tell me that value decreases as volume increases? Yes, but there's one big difference here. It's silent. No one is doing this. The commercial industry is a blue ocean. For the 6,000 to 10,000 ads that someone sees in a given day, they may only see a few emails. And for most of those emails, they land in junk. And we're going to talk about how to solve that problem as well. So here's the formula. To build new commercial relationships at scale, it's contacts plus touch points plus time. You guys ready for the secret sauce? Okay, let's get started with that first variable, contacts. To create new commercial relationships, we recommend starting with no less than 10,000 contacts. Why do we need such a high volume? Because prospecting or contacting people who've never heard of you before, most of them are going to disregard that initial email. And you know what? That's okay. That's not a loss. What that is the start of a brand awareness campaign. It's no different than anyone running door knocking or direct mail. Those strategies are very effective, and you may even receive some quick wins, but adding volume and time compounds their effectiveness. So where do you find a contact list of 10,000 prospects? Well, you buy them. Okay? I'd recommend a service like Coldlytics or Apollo.io. For a few $1,000s, you can acquire thousands of quality contacts in your local market. Now, the key word here is quality. There are literally hundreds of data aggregators out there, and we've tested almost all of them. I'm talking about years and six-figure amounts of R&D here, okay? If you're relying on cheap, scraped lists, this strategy will fail. You want to aim for a 99% clean list. So if that means like out of every 10,000 contacts that you purchase, if even 100 of those are outdated or dead emails, this strategy does not work. Most data vendors will deliver a list that's 60 to 70% clean at best. Okay. So there are a few others out there that can deliver some consistency in these results, but these are the two that have historically worked best for us. Now, to target those level 2 prospects, we need to filter that contact list. And here's what that looks like. We primarily want to focus on decision makers such as founders and CEOs. All right, managers, directors, they typically have a higher turnover rate. So their contacts are in purchase lists, they become outdated very quick. All right, so we want to start by filtering companies that generate at least $5 million in annual revenue. Okay, it's gonna help you avoid those tire kickers. For location targeting, I wouldn't go less than 60 miles. If you're in the sticks, you might need to expand that radius even further to hit a metro area, or else you're likely going to end up with less than 10,000 contacts. Now, for business types, this is where it gets important. We want to focus on types of businesses like general contractors, commercial real estate, property management companies, facility managers, educational institutions like universities, healthcare facilities, hospitals, retirement communities, and that's just to name a few. Again, these are level 2 contacts. One contact can produce an unlimited amount of recurring revenue. Cool. So we got this big contact list. Now what? This brings us to our second variable. We need to touch them. Like, not physically touch them, but we need to make sure we touch them with virtual touch points. And we need a lot of them. Okay? We need to position your business in front of these 10,000 or more pre-qualified prospects at least 12 to 15 times to expect any meaningful results. And look, I didn't just pull these numbers out of my ass, okay? There's a lot of data around this. There's literally Harvard studies built on this. Consumers, which includes business owners, it requires at least 12 to 15 touch points for something to become memorable and for them to take action. Now, before I tell you how to do this, I'm going to tell you exactly what not to do, because I see this a lot. We are not going to take that big contact list you just purchased and pop it into your CRM. That includes a CRM like DripJobs, which, by the way, I think 85% of our clients are using DripJobs today. So hats off to you, Tanner team. You guys have a great product over there. But I want you guys all to hear me when I say this. Do not mass send emails from your CRM. Okay? They're simply not designed for this. Instead, I want you to use an email service provider, otherwise known as an ESP. And I'll get to that more in a moment. But this is critical because there is no faster way to land your emails on a blacklist than by sending in bulk from a CRM. And once your domain is blacklisted by an ESP like Gmail or Outlook, you're going to be unable to send estimates to customers. You're going to be unable to reach your team. It's going to make communication via email impossible. So if you remember nothing else, remember this: blacklist equals bad. Do not bulk send from your CRM. Instead, we want to use an email service provider. I'd recommend keeping it really simple. A service provider like Constant Contact or MailChimp works great. In fact, I noticed this earlier today. All of the emails Tanner and his team sent out to promote this liftoff event, they were sent using MailChimp, right? And look, even if you're using a good ESP, that doesn't mean you're going to avoid a blacklist. You are likely still going to end up on there at some point in time. That's just a fact of life. So you're going to do one last thing before we start typing up an email. We're going to buy a new domain name, okay? Specifically to send emails from. This is going to cost you maybe $20. For instance, if your domain name is abcpainting.com, go purchase a domain name like abcpaintingmail.com. Nobody looks at that. Okay? This is called a sacrificial domain. This way, when, not if, your domain hits a blacklist, you just buy a new one. Okay? So if you or a marketing partner are currently sending bulk emails from your primary domain name, please go tell them to stop doing that. All right? You're playing with fire. And look, we don't have to overcomplicate this. Again, I want to keep this simple. Here is an example of an email we use to start new relationships. If you notice, it's all text and it's extremely short, and that's by design. It reads like this. The subject line here is, John, are your painters on time every time? Hey, John, I understand you work with painters. We work with GCs. We're professional, on time, and on budget every time. I'm not expecting to be your first call, but I would be happy to prove it if you make me your second call. Thank you, Austin. Now, this works for two main reasons. First, it bypasses spam filters because there are no images, links, or sales-driven language. We can't talk to someone if we don't reach their inbox first. Second, that subject line dictates your open rate. That is how likely it's going to be that somebody actually reads that email. Okay? That is a leading indicator for success that we test heavily. This subject line works because we're poking at a customer pain point, right? Painters not arriving on time or not completing their work on time. Just do the bare minimum here, guys. Doesn't take much to impress this audience. Now, for the final variable, time. We need these prospects to be emailed at least once a month for at least 12 months. Why so much time? Because trust is and always will be a currency, right? People don't buy from businesses, they buy from other people. Specifically, they buy from other people they know, like, and trust. And while introductions can happen quickly, trust, that's built up over time. Consider this. Most of your prospects that you're going to contact, they're already in a relationship with another commercial contractor. That's why they don't email you back. Okay? They've been dating for months or sometimes even years. So as a third party, you need to be patient. You're waiting. You're waiting for that relationship to hit some turbulence. Okay? Because at some point in the future, that relationship is going to come to an end. It's like that girl that you like in middle school who's dating that jock that you know that they're going to break up eventually, right? At some point, they're going to drop the ball. And you just need to be one thing. You need to be top of mind. Okay? You need to be the safe light in your local market. That jingle needs to go off in their head. You must be the first person they think to call when things go south. And this is why brand awareness takes time. And here's what that looks like in practice. Over a 12-month calendar year, you may only expect a handful of new relationships from that 10,000 prospect list. But that's the point. Because a single relationship can keep your crews busy for months. A single relationship can generate millions in recurring annual revenue. We're talking recurring projects with an average size 5 to 20 times that of an average residential project. This strategy generates multiple 5 and multiple 6-figure projects for our clients on autopilot. We're talking geometric growth here, guys. So I want you guys to ask yourself, are you comfortable chasing leads and knocking on doors the rest of your life? And look, maybe some of you enjoy that, chasing that digital heroin, right? Like some of you actually enjoy being a local influencer, and that's fine. But I would argue for most of you, you would like to think bigger because it's just a better way to live and it's a better way to run your company. And that just requires building relationships. Now, if you're looking for more free, actionable resources like this, head on over to basecoatmarketing.com/learn. And we're very open to feedback. So if we haven't covered a topic or if there's someone you're looking for us to interview, let us know.
Now, it's time to go take action. You know what to do. Go do what you know.